In this video, I want to talk about errors and mistakes. Now, that's a really big topic that we can talk about for a long time, but what I want to do is I want to pick a specific area and concentrate on that. What I want to talk about is a specific situation when an error or mistake has been discovered and you get your big boss from upstairs call you up and says, hey, we found a mistake in so-and-so. What we need to do is implement some kind of procedure to make sure this mistake never happens again. And what I want to talk about is why it's impossible to put every possible mistake on a checklist and prevent it from happening ever again. Some mistakes happen once every few years, and those are just so incredibly rare that it just doesn't make sense to put them on some kind of list. Others are simply human error. Somebody just forgot. People do forget. Maybe somebody was sick, they were having a bad day, and they just simply missed a step. Other errors could be a result of software bugs. You wouldn't believe how many bugs being fixed with every new version of software. And honestly, when you look at the bug report, it's crazy how you've been using software with that many bugs. And of course, software bugs is not something you can put on your QC checklist to catch at the end of the project. The point I'm trying to make is there is no way to put every error that happened before on a QC checklist so it would never happen again. If you're going to be putting every error on your checklist for the end of the project, you will never finish your project because your checklist is going to keep growing all the time, and eventually you'll be so bogged down with it, you'll be skipping your items from a checklist or just ignoring it completely. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't QC or shouldn't check your work. Of course you should. You should build a QC checklist of relevant items, and analysts should go through those items at the end of the job and make sure everything is done correctly. But every once in a while, you need to curate that list. You have to go through them and make sure only relevant items are still there. It's also very important that the checklist is relevant to the project that's being worked on. If an analyst has to skip over lots of checkboxes because they're not relevant to a project, well, maybe you should revise that into two different checklists and have them one for this type of job and one for the other. And of course, it is very important to remove items that are not needed so they're not clogging things up. A couple other things I found that are really helpful when QCing work, and one of them is having somebody else look at your project. If you did something that's out of ordinary, kind of weird, and you're not really sure, have a person who haven't touched that job before give it once over and make sure it looks good to them. And finally, automate QC as much as possible. Hire a programmer, invest in programming education, and have some kind of program that will scan your load files and check them against some kind of predetermined standard. One thing I like to do is compare my DAT files against the predefined field list, and you wouldn't believe how many times I find where a field name is off by one character or spelled differently. So with that said, I ask you to keep your QC checklists relevant to your project. Don't just add things for the sake of having more the better. So one thing I want to ask you guys is, if you've created an automated QC for your projects, what checks did you make program to do? And I'm not simply asking you for the sake of a conversation in the comment section, but I actually do need ideas of what else I can automate it to make sure my production is going out perfectly.